The crystalline chamber stretched beyond what eyes could properly see. 10,000 species filled the vast space, each representative standing in their designated area. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. Some stood on legs, others floated in specialized fields. The annual grand census had begun, and every civilization in the galaxy had sent someone to answer the call. Doyun stood with his hands clasped behind his back, trying not to show how nervous he felt. Beside him, Mirai reviewed her notes one final time. They were the first humans to attend this particular ceremony, and Doyun wanted everything to go perfectly. 50 years ago, humanity had joined the Galactic Council. 50 years was nothing compared to civilizations that had existed for millions of years. "We will be fine," Mirai whispered, noticing his tension. "I have practiced the pronunciation 1,000 times." Above them, Thalvor the Arbiter sat on a throne of living crystal. His reptilian form was ancient, his scales showing the scars of 3 centuries. When he spoke, his voice filled every corner of the chamber without need for technology. "The census begins. Each world shall speak its true name in the ancient tongue. Let the record be updated for another cycle." One by one, species came forward. The process was simple and quick. A representative would step to the center, speak their planet's name in the old language, and return to their place. Most names were simple: Waterhaven, Twin Sun Home, Crystal Birth. The galaxy was filled with peaceful worlds that had given birth to peaceful people. Hours passed. Doyen watched as species he had never seen before spoke names he could barely understand. The ancient tongue was difficult, a language older than most civilizations. Mirai had spent months learning just enough to speak Earth's designation. Finally, Thalvor's gaze fell upon them. The humans will now present their world's true name. Doyen and Mirai walked to the center of the chamber. 10,000 eyes watched them. Some species whispered among themselves. Humans were young, barely worth noticing. Their technology was primitive. Their lifespans were short. They had only just learned to travel between stars. Mirai stepped forward. She took a deep breath and began to speak in the ancient tongue. The words felt heavy in her mouth, syllables that seemed to carry weight beyond mere sound. The first part of the name rolled out. In the old language, it meant something like the cradle of the endless swarm. Mirai continued to the second part. Birthplace of the Death World spawn. Around them, the whispers stopped. Several of the elder species physically stepped backward. An insectoid ambassador made a clicking sound of alarm. A floating jellyfish-like being changed colors from peaceful blue to warning red. Mirai spoke the final part. Origin of the unconquerable. The chamber fell completely silent. In 300 years of service, Doyen had never experienced true silence before. There had always been some sound, some movement. Now there was nothing. 10,000 species stood frozen. High above, something clattered against the crystal floor. Quilmara, the keeper of the forbidden archives, had dropped an artifact. The ancient bird-like scholar stared at the humans with all 4 of her eyes wide with what could only be described as terror. Thalvor rose from his throne. His voice, which had been calm and ceremonial, now carried an edge of something Doyen had never expected to hear from such a powerful being. "Fear. Stop. Say no more." Thalvor's clawed hand was raised. "Guards, detain the humans immediately." "For their own protection." "What?" Doyen stepped forward. "We have done nothing wrong. We simply spoke our world's name as requested." "That is precisely the problem," Thalvor said. Around them, armed guards began to move forward. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. "You will come with us now." Mirai looked at Doyen, confusion clear on her face. "I do not understand." Every species spoke their name. "Why are we being arrested?" "Not arrested," Thalvor said, though his tone suggested otherwise. "Protected. There are protocols. Ancient protocols that must be followed when certain designations are spoken." The guards surrounded them. These were not the ceremonial guards Doyen had seen before. These were soldiers, members of the Vex Collective, a hive mind species that served as the Council's enforcers. They moved with purpose and precision. "I need to contact our ship," Doyen said firmly. "We have rights as Council members." "Your rights are suspended under Emergency Protocol Sigma," Thalvor said. "This is for the safety of all species present, including your own." As the guards began to lead them away, Doyen caught sight of Quilmara. The ancient scholar was speaking urgently to her assistants, sending them running toward the archives. Whatever Earth's true name meant, it had triggered something significant. The chamber's lighting suddenly changed. Emergency lights activated, bathing everything in a cold blue glow. Throughout the massive structure, Doyen heard sounds he recognized from his military days. Defense systems powering up, shields activating. Weapons coming online, what is happening? Mirai asked the nearest guard. The guard, part of the Vex Collective, spoke with many voices at once. Protocol demands full defensive posture when a Class 8 designation is confirmed. No Class 8 world has achieved spaceflight in recorded history. This is unprecedented. Class 8? Doyen tried to remember his training. The Galactic Council classified worlds based on their hospitality to life. Class 1 worlds were paradise planets. Class 7 worlds were considered death worlds, barely capable of supporting life. There is no Class 8 classification. There was not supposed to be, the guard replied. The scale ends at 7. Your world required the creation of a new category. They were taken to a secure facility deep within the station. The room was comfortable but clearly a cell. Energy barriers hummed at the entrance. Doyen immediately moved to the communication panel, but it was disabled. They have cut us off, he said. Juwan will notice we missed our check-in. That might make things worse, Mirai said. She sat down, her hands shaking slightly. Doyen, what does our planet's name mean? Why would it cause such fear? Before he could answer, the door opened. Quilmara entered, moving with surprising speed for such an ancient being. She looked around nervously as if afraid of being followed. I do not have much time, Quilmara said. They do not know I am here. You must understand what you have done. We spoke our world's name, Doyen said. Nothing more. Your world's name appears in records 50 million years old, Quilmara said. The words seemed impossible. The primacy, the civilization that came before all current civilizations, they surveyed your planet. They barely escaped. 40% casualties. They marked your world with the highest danger classification ever recorded. Why? Mirai asked. Earth is dangerous, yes, but many worlds have predators and harsh environments. Quilmara's feathers ruffled in what might have been laughter or despair. Your world does not simply have dangers. Your world is danger itself. Every living thing on your planet evolved to kill or to avoid being killed. Your weather kills. Your geology kills. Your sun's radiation kills. Your own bodies kill you slowly with time. Even your microscopic life forms kill. Other species have diseases, Doyen said, not like yours. The primacy survey team brought back samples. 43 different organisms tried to consume them. 43 in the time it took to seal their ship. Your bacteria are aggressive enough to attack alien biology they have never encountered before. Quilmara moved closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. The primacy made predictions. They said that any species that evolved on your world would be adaptable beyond measure. They would be psychologically resilient to the point of madness. They would pack bond with anything, even other species. They would refuse to acknowledge defeat even when logically defeated. And they would innovate constantly because innovation would be the only way to survive. You are describing humans, Mirai said quietly. I am describing the most dangerous species the galaxy has ever known, Quilmara said. Every human who reaches space is a survivor of a planetary scale culling that never ends. Your world kills its children so they may conquer the stars. That is what your name means. That is why the Council is terrified. Outside, alarms began to sound. Quilmara's eyes widened. The Vex are coming. They have orders to transfer you to a secure location. Do not go with them. That is an execution order disguised as procedure. Before Doyen could respond, Quilmara was gone, disappearing through the door. He and Mirai looked at each other. In orbit above the station, Doyen knew their ship waited. G1 commanded the escort fleet. By now, she would know something was wrong. The question was what she would do about it. The energy barrier at their door flickered and died. Armed Vex guards stood in the entrance, weapons ready. Come with us, they said in unison. It is time to go. G1 stood on the bridge of the UNS Indomitable, staring at the tactical display. The Council station hung in space before them, beautiful and deadly in equal measure. 20 minutes had passed since Doyen's scheduled check-in. 20 minutes was 19 minutes too long. Admiral, we are detecting weapons activation on the station, her tactical officer reported. Heejin's fingers danced across her console, pulling up more data. Multiple systems coming online. Defense grid, shield generators, and... Wait. Those are siege weapons. They have not been activated in 1,000 years according to our files. Red alert. Battle stations. Jiwan kept her voice calm. 30 years in the military had taught her that panic spread faster than fire. Do not power weapons yet. I want them to see we are not aggressive. But prepare for immediate action. What are your orders if they fire on us? Hyejin asked. Then we show them why humans do not stay down when hit. Jiwan opened a channel to the other ships in their small fleet. 12 vessels all told. Not enough to fight a station that housed 10,000 species and their military forces, but perhaps enough to make them think twice. Down in the detention area, Doyen evaluated their situation. 5 Vex guards stood before them, weapons raised. The Vex were dangerous because they shared a single mind. What one knew, all knew. What one decided, all followed. There was no negotiation with the Vex. We are not going anywhere, Doyun said firmly. He stepped in front of Mirai, an instinctive, protective gesture. You will comply or you will be forced to comply, the Vex said. All 5 spoke at once, creating an eerie harmony. Those are the only options available. Doyen's military training kicked in. He analyzed the room in seconds. The Vex were armed with energy weapons, dangerous at range but requiring direct line of sight. The room had furniture that could provide cover. The Vex themselves were tall and thin, built for the low gravity of their homeworld. Mirai, when I move. You go left, he whispered. What are you? Doyen grabbed a chair and threw it at the nearest guard. The Vex, unused to physical violence, hesitated for a fraction of a second. That was all Doyen needed. He charged forward, closing the distance before the guard could fire. His hand struck the Vex's weapon arm, knocking the gun aside. His other hand went for the creature's throat. The Vex made a gasping sound and stumbled backward. Doyen followed, using the guard as a shield against the others. Mirai, no soldier but trained in basic self-defense, kicked at another guard's leg. The Vex, evolved in low gravity, had weak bones compared to humans. The leg snapped with an audible crack. The guard fell and Mirai grabbed its weapon. I do not know how to use this, she shouted. Point and press the trigger. Doyen wrestled with his guard, trying to get control of the weapon. The Vex was strong but not used to grappling. Humans had been wrestling each other for thousands of years, first for survival, then for sport. The other 3 guards fired. Energy bolts seared through the air. Doyen felt one pass close enough to his head that his hair singed. He twisted, using his captured guard as a shield. The bolt struck the guard instead and the Vex went limp. Mirai fired blindly. The weapon's recoil surprised her, but the shot went wide, striking the wall. The guards turned their attention to her. Doyen dove for the fallen weapon, rolled, and came up firing. 2 guards went down. The last one charged at Mirai. She did the only thing she could think of. She threw the weapon at its face and ran. The Vex stumbled, temporarily blinded. Doyen was on it in seconds, a brutal punch dropping the creature to the floor. Breathing hard, Doyen and Mirai looked at each other. The entire fight had lasted less than 30 seconds. Around them, 5 Vex guards lay unconscious or injured. Not one human scratch. That was terrifying, Mirai said. That was instinct, Doyen replied. He picked up 2 of the weapons and handed one to her. Come on. We need to find a working communication panel. They moved through the corridors of the station. Alarms blared everywhere. Other species fled in panic, not knowing what the emergency was about. Doyen and Mirai stayed low, avoiding patrols. There, Mirai pointed to a secondary communication station. That should have access to external channels. Doyen kept watch while Mirai worked. Her fingers flew across the alien interface. Years of studying xenotechnology paid off. Within minutes, she had broken through the security locks. I have a channel to the Indomitable, she said, patching you through. Jiwan, this is Doyen. We are in immediate danger. The Council has declared some kind of emergency protocol. They tried to remove us from the station, probably to kill us. Jiwan's voice came back steady and strong. Copy that. We have weapons lock on the station. They have not fired yet. What do you need? Time, Doyen said. We need to understand what is happening. Why our planet's name caused such fear. The Forbidden Archives, Mirai said suddenly. Quilmara mentioned them. If there are records 50 million years old, they would be there. Can you reach them? Jiwan asked. We can try, Doyen said. But Jiwan, if they fire on you, do not hesitate. Get the fleet out of here. Negative, Jiwan replied. We do not leave our people behind. That is not how we work. You have 1 hour. After that, we are coming in to get you whether the Council likes it or not. The channel closed. Doyen looked at Mirai. The archives. Which direction? They made their way deeper into the station. The forbidden archives were located in the oldest section, a place most species never visited. The architecture changed as they went, becoming more ancient, more strange. These corridors had been built by the primacy, the civilization that had existed 50 million years ago. Quilmara found them before they found her. The old scholar appeared from a side passage, moving surprisingly fast. "I knew you would come here. Follow me quickly." She led them through a maze of passages to a massive door covered in symbols. Quilmara placed her hand on a panel and the door opened. Beyond was a room filled with data crystals, each one containing information from ages past. "What you want to know is here," Quilmara said. She moved to a specific crystal and activated it. Images filled the air above them. Ancient writing appeared, which Quilmara translated as she read. The primacy sent exploration teams to every corner of the galaxy. They found millions of worlds. They cataloged each one. Your world they visited 50 million years ago, long before humans existed. But they saw the trajectory. They understood what your world was creating. The images showed Earth as it had been. Dinosaurs ruled the planet. Massive predators battled in violent ecosystems. Everything ate everything else. There was no peace, no balance. Only constant warfare between species. They landed, Quilmara continued. A team of 20. The best explorers the primacy had. Within one day, 12 were dead. Diseases they had never encountered. Predators too fast to track. Plants that were poisonous to the touch. Insects that injected venom strong enough to kill beings 10 times their size. More images appeared. The primacy team fleeing to their ship. Creatures pursuing them that humans would one day call velociraptors. The ship taking off with half its crew dead or dying. They made predictions, Quilmara said. They said that any species evolving on this world would be shaped by constant death. They would learn to adapt or die. They would learn to fight or die. They would learn to work together or die. Every moment of every day would be a test, and those who survived would be unstoppable. Mirai stared at the images. They predicted humans? They predicted the concept of humans, Quilmara said. A species so adapted to death that they no longer fear it. A species so used to fighting that combat becomes second nature. A species that bonds with its own kind so strongly that it will die for strangers. Because on a death world, the only way to survive is together. Doyen felt something click in his mind. Everything Quilmara described was just normal life on Earth. Humans did not think they were special. They did not realize other species had evolved in paradise while humanity had evolved in hell. "There is more," Quilmara said. She activated another crystal. The primacy classified worlds on a scale of 1 to 7. 1 for paradise worlds, 7 for death worlds. Your planet broke the scale. They created a theoretical class 8 just for Earth. They predicted that if your world ever produced a spacefaring species, that species would be the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. "But we do not want to be dangerous," Mirai said. "We came to the council in peace." "I know," Quilmara said gently. "But you do not understand. You cannot help being what you are. You just fought 5 Vex guards. Do you know how many species in the council could do that? None, 0. The Vex are considered elite soldiers. You beat them in hand-to-hand combat without even thinking about it." Doyen looked at his hands. He had not thought about it. The fight had been instinctive. Was that what made humans different? Not that they could fight, but that fighting was as natural as breathing. "What happens now?" he asked. "The council is divided," Quilmara said. "Thalvor wants to eliminate humanity as a threat. Others, like Soren, argue that would prove the ancient warnings correct. That humans will fight when cornered. A vote is being prepared," alarm suddenly blared louder. Quilmara's feathers stood on end. "They know you are here. The Vex are coming. Many of them." Doyen checked his weapon. "Still half-charged. Enough for maybe 10 shots. "How many is many?" "More than you can fight," Quilmara said. "Even for humans." Mirai's voice echoed through every speaker in the council station. 10,000 species heard her words, clear and strong despite the fear she felt. "This is Mirai, human diplomat. We know you can hear us. We know what Earth's name means. We know about the primacy records. We know you are afraid of us." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "We came to you in peace. We asked only to be part of your community. We have followed your rules. We have respected your laws. And in return, you tried to kill us." In the council chamber, chaos erupted. Species argued with each other in dozens of languages. Thalvor stood from his throne, his reptilian face twisted in anger. "Cut that transmission." They are broadcasting from the Forbidden Archives, an assistant said. We cannot block it without shutting down all communication across the station. Soren, the Insectoid Council member, clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Let her speak. We owe them that much, Mirai continued. We understand now. You look at us and see the predictions. You see a species built for war, a species that refuses to die, a species that bonds so strongly we will fight for strangers. You are not wrong, but you are also not completely right. Doyen stood at the door watching the corridor. He could hear the Vex approaching, many of them just as Quilmara had warned. His weapon was ready, but he knew it would not be enough. Behind him, Quilmara worked frantically to copy the archive data onto portable crystals. Yes, Earth is a death world, Mirai said. Yes, we evolved fighting every single day for survival. Yes, we learned to be tough because weakness meant death. But do you know what else we learned? We learned that the only way to survive was together. We learned to protect each other. We learned to sacrifice for our pack. And now you are our pack. The first Vex appeared at the end of the corridor. Then 10 more. Then 50. Doyen aimed his weapon but did not fire. Not yet. Every second Mirai had to speak was worth more than a fight. In orbit, Jiwan watched the tactical display. The Council station had fully activated its weapons. Energy signatures strong enough to vaporize her entire fleet, charged in massive cannons. Her tactical officer Heejin looked at her with a question in her eyes. Not yet, Jiwan said quietly. Give them time. Admiral, if they fire, we will have seconds to respond, Heejin said. Maybe less. I know. Jiwan's hands gripped the armrests of her chair. She had commanded fleets through 3 conflicts. She had never felt fear like this. Not for herself, but for what was about to happen. If the Council fired, she would have to respond. And if she responded, thousands would die. Maybe millions. Hold position. All ships maintain defensive posture only. Back in the Council chamber, Thalvor made his decision. Activate the weapon grid. Target the human fleet. Prepare to fire on my command. Arbiter, please reconsider, Soren said. If we fire first, we prove everything the ancient records warned about. We prove that humans will have to fight to survive in this galaxy. Better to act now while we have the advantage, Thalvor said. Before they grow stronger. Before they spread across the galaxy. This is a mercy. A quick end. A quick genocide, you mean, Soren said. I vote against this action. Your vote is noted and overruled, Thalvor said. I invoke emergency powers. The human fleet has 1 minute to surrender or be destroyed. On the indomitable, alarms blared. Admiral, we are being targeted. Multiple weapons lock. They are charging to fire. Jiwan closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, they were hard as stone. All ships, evasive pattern Echo 7. Prepare for combat acceleration. Get ready to show them what Earth's children can do. Ma'am, Echo 7 will generate 11 G-forces, Heijin said. Most species cannot survive above 4 Gs. I know, Jiwan said. That is the point. Execute on my mark. In the archives, the Vex reached the door. Doyen fired. His first shot took down the lead guard. His second and third dropped 2 more. Then his weapon died, energy depleted. He threw it at the next Vex and grabbed the heavy archive door, shoving it closed. Mirai, finish your broadcast. He shouted. Mirai spoke faster. You want to know what makes humans dangerous? It is not that we can fight. It is that we choose when to fight. We could have come to you with weapons. We could have demanded respect through fear. Instead, we came as friends. We asked to learn from you. We hope to stand beside you. But if you force us to fight, you will learn why Earth earned its name. Not because we love war, but because we are very, very good at it. The door shook as the Vex rammed it. Doyen looked around for something to barricade it with. The furniture in the archives was too light, designed for species much smaller than humans. He did the only thing he could. He braced his own body against the door. Quilmara, is there another exit? He asked. No, the old scholar said. This room has only one entrance. We are trapped, Doyen laughed. It was not a happy sound. Of course we are, the door burst open. Vex poured through. Doyen fought with everything he had. His fists struck alien flesh. His feet kicked at weak joints. His head slammed into vulnerable spots. He was 1 man against 50 and he knew he could not win, but he could buy time. Mirai grabbed a data crystal and used it as a weapon, smashing it across a Vex guard's face. The crystal shattered, but so did the guard's skull. She had never hurt anyone before in her life. The action felt wrong and right at the same time. Quilmara, ancient and frail, did the only thing she could. She activated the archive's emergency protocol. Every data crystal began broadcasting at once. The information poured out across the station's network. Every species would now have access to the primacy records. They would all know the truth about Earth. In space, the Council weapons fired. Massive energy beams lanced toward the human fleet. G1 gave the order. All ships evasive pattern Echo 7. Execute now. The human ships suddenly accelerated at angles that defied physics. They pulled turns so sharp that the G-forces would kill most species instantly. Inside the Indomitable, G1 felt her vision narrow. The pressure suit squeezed her body, keeping blood in her brain. Beside her, Hyejin grunted with effort but kept her hands steady on the controls. The Council's weapons missed. All of them. The targeting systems could not track ships moving with such violent unpredictability. The beams shot through empty space where the human ships had been milliseconds before. Return fire? Hyejin asked through gritted teeth. Negative, Ji-won said. Do not fire on the station. Target their weapons only. Disable, do not destroy. The human fleet split apart, each ship moving independently. They wove through the incoming fire like dancers, like fighters, like predators that had learned to dodge death itself. Their own weapons fired with precision, taking out the Council's gun emplacements one by one. How are they doing this? Thalvor demanded in the Council chamber. No species can maneuver like that. No other species evolved on a death world, Soren said quietly. No other species learned to move while dodging predators faster than themselves. No other species trained their pilots to function while their bodies tried to shut down from G-forces. They are not better than us. They are different. And right now that difference is saving their lives. On the station, more Vex poured into the archives. Doyen went down under their weight. He felt impacts against his body, felt his ribs crack. Beside him, Mirai fought until a Vex grabbed her from behind. Quilmara stood in front of the communication console, protecting it with her aged body. Then suddenly the fighting stopped. A new voice boomed through the station. This is Admiral Jiwan of the United Nations ship Indomitable. Your weapons have been disabled. Your shields are failing. Your station is defenseless. But not one of your people is dead. We could have destroyed you. We chose not to. Release our diplomats immediately. Thalvor stared at the tactical display. It was true. Every weapon on the station was offline. The human fleet had systematically destroyed every gun, every missile launcher, every defense system, and they had done it without killing a single person. How? Thalvor whispered. Because that is what humans do, Soren said. They fight not to kill but to protect, even when protecting us from ourselves. A communication came through from the archives. The Vex guards reported in. The humans are secured. One male injured but alive, one female unharmed. The archive keeper is wounded but will survive. Thalvor looked around the council chamber. 10,000 species watched him, waiting, judging. He had fired on the humans first. He had tried to kill them. And in response, they had defended themselves perfectly while killing no one. The ancient records had been right. Humans were dangerous, but not in the way Thalvor had feared. Soren stood. I call for a vote of no confidence in Arbiter Thalvor. I move that the humans be released immediately and given a formal apology. All in favor? The vote was unanimous. In the archives, the Vex guards stepped back. They made no move to help Doyen stand, but they no longer attacked. Mirai rushed to his side. Are you okay? Broken ribs, Doyen said through gritted teeth. Maybe a concussion. Nothing that will not heal. He looked up at the Vex. You fought well. The Vex seemed confused by the compliment. They had lost. They had been defeated. Why would the victor praise them? Because that is what warriors do, Doyen said, reading their confusion. We respect those who fight bravely, even when they are our enemies. Especially then. Quilmara, her wing broken and bleeding, laughed weakly. 6 months had passed since the incident at the council station. Doyen stood in the new council chamber, rebuilt and redesigned with human consultation. His ribs had healed. The scars remained, but he wore them as reminders of the day everything changed. Humanity was now fully integrated into the Galactic Council. Not as junior members, but as equals. More than equals in some ways. Other species had begun requesting human assistance. Training programs, cultural exchanges, technology sharing. But today was different. Today, something had gone wrong. The Outer Rim colonies have gone silent, Soren reported to the assembled council. His insectoid form clicked nervously. 17 worlds. No communication for 3 days. We sent scout ships. None have returned. Thalvor, no longer arbiter but still a council member, spoke carefully. He had learned humility in recent months. What could cause such widespread failure? We believe it is an attack, Quilmara said. She had recovered from her injuries but moved slower now. Something is destroying our colonies. Efficiently and completely. A holographic display activated showing the rim of the galaxy. Red markers indicated the lost colonies. They formed a pattern, a line advancing toward the core worlds. Toward civilization. Mire studied the pattern. This is systematic. Whoever is doing this is moving with purpose. They are coming for all of us. What do the primacy records say? Doyen asked Quilmara. The old scholar's feathers ruffled. There are mentions of an enemy, something the primacy fled from, something that drove them to extinction. They called them the Devourers. A chill ran through the council chamber. The Devourers. Even the name carried weight. We must prepare our defenses, Thalvor said. Recall all fleets to core worlds. Establish a defensive perimeter. Negative, Jiwan said. She had been granted a seat on the council as human military representative. Retreating allows them to advance unopposed. We need to engage now. Learn what we are facing. With respect, Admiral, we should assess the threat before committing forces, Soren said carefully. The time for assessment is over, Jiwan replied. Every day we wait, more colonies die. I am taking the human fleet to investigate. Any species that wishes to join us is welcome. The council erupted in debate. Most species wanted to wait, to gather more information, to be cautious. Humans wanted to act. Doyen watched the argument unfold and realized this was the fundamental difference. Other species had evolved in safety. They could afford to be cautious. Humans had evolved in constant danger. Waiting meant death. We will go alone if necessary, Jiwan said firmly. But we will go. In the end, 12 species sent ships to join the human fleet. Not many, but it was a start. Among them was a young pilot named Hyejin, who had trained with humans and learned to operate at high G-forces. She commanded a mixed squadron of human and alien fighters. The fleet traveled to the last known location of the lost colonies. What they found was horrifying. The planets remained, but they were empty. No buildings, no life, no atmosphere. Just bare rock, stripped clean of everything. What kind of weapon does this? Hyejin whispered. Not a weapon, Siwu said. He was a young human scientist, barely 26, but brilliant. He had been analyzing the sensor data. Look at these readings. The molecular structure of the rock has been altered. Everything organic has been consumed at the atomic level. This is not destruction. This is feeding. As if summoned by his words, space itself began to tear. Reality rippled like water. And from the tears emerged something that should not exist. The creatures were massive, each one the size of a small moon. They had no solid form, constantly shifting and changing. Where they moved, space bent and twisted. The Devourers had arrived. All ships combat formation, Jiwan ordered. Weapons free. Target the largest one. The fleet opened fire. Energy weapons lanced out, striking the lead Devourer. The beams hit and simply vanished, absorbed into the creature's mass. Missiles exploded harmlessly. Kinetic rounds passed through without effect. Conventional weapons are ineffective, Siwu reported. They exist partially outside normal space. Most of our attacks are not even reaching them. Then we adapt, Jiwan said. She had learned this lesson from Earth itself. When one method failed, you tried another. All ships switched to maximum kinetic impact. Ram them if necessary. Admiral, ramming would destroy our ships, an alien captain protested. Then we make sure the sacrifice counts, Jiwan replied. Hyejin, take your squadron in close. Find a weak point. Hyejin led 12 fighters toward the nearest Devourer. The creature reached out with appendages of twisted space trying to grab them. Hyejin's training kicked in. She pulled turns at 9 Gs, feeling her vision narrow but keeping control. Behind her, 3 alien pilots tried to follow. One blacked out and had to be rescued. The other 2 could not maintain the pace, but 6 human pilots stayed with her. They wove through the creature's attacks, dancing on the edge of death. It was what they had trained for. What Earth had bred them for. There, Hyejin spotted a fluctuation in the creature's form, a point where its matter became more solid. Targeting weak point. All fighters concentrate fire. Their weapons struck the weak spot simultaneously. The Devourer recoiled. For the first time, it had been hurt. It let out a sound that was not sound but rather a vibration through space itself. A roar of pain and anger. More devourers appeared, 5, 10, 20. The fleet was outnumbered and outmatched. Ships began to fall. Not human ships at first, but the alien vessels. Their crews were brave but not trained for this level of violence. "We need to retreat," Thalvor said over the communication channel. His ship was falling back, shields failing. "No," Doyen said. He had insisted on coming despite his role as diplomat. This was too important. "If we retreat, they will follow. They will reach the core worlds. Billions will die." "If we stay, we will die," Thalvor said. "Then we die," Doyen replied simply. "But we die making sure they regret coming here." It was the human way. The Death World way. You fought not because you could win, but because surrender was not an option. You fought because that was what you did. Jiwan made a decision. "All human ships, I am initiating Protocol Omega. Set self-destruct charges. We are going to ram the largest devourers. Maximum speed." "Admiral, no," Soren protested. "There must be another way." "There is not time to find it," Jiwan said. "Siwu, are you ready?" The young scientist nodded. While the battle raged, he had been working on a theory. If we detonate our fusion cores at the exact moment of impact, the explosion might collapse the dimensional rifts. It might seal them back into their own space. "Might?" Mirai asked. "Science is rarely certain," Siwu replied. "But it is the best chance we have." Jiwan smiled grimly. "Good enough for me. All ships, you heard the plan. Pick your targets. Maximum acceleration. Make Earth proud." The human ships turned as one. Their engines flared to full power. They accelerated toward the devourers at speeds that would tear apart most vessels. Inside each ship, crews prepared for the end. They were not sad. They were not afraid. They were simply determined. "For Earth," Jiwan said quietly. "For the Council," Doyen added. "For everyone we protect," Mirai whispered. The human ships struck the devourers like bullets. At the moment of impact, their fusion cores detonated. The explosions were massive, tearing through normal space and dimensional barriers alike. The devourers shrieked, their forms collapsing, but the human ships were not destroyed. At the last second, their crews had ejected in escape pods. It had been a calculated risk. The explosions were contained and directed, all energy focused forward into the devourers. The crew survived. It was a very human solution. Sacrifice that was not quite suicide. Risk everything but plan to survive anyway. Hope and determination combined. The dimensional rifts began to collapse. The devourers retreated, fleeing back to wherever they came from. They had expected prey that would run or die easily. Instead, they had found something they did not understand. Prey that fought like predators, prey that refused to die. In the aftermath, the fleet regrouped. They had lost ships, but fewer than expected. Human damage control teams worked frantically to save vessels from other species. Human medics treated alien wounded with the same care they gave their own. "Why do you do this?" Thalvor asked Doyen. They floated in the debris field, waiting for rescue. "Why fight so hard for species you barely know?" Doyen looked at the stars. "Because Earth taught us that the only way to survive is together. Because we pack bond with anything and everything. Because you are part of our pack now, and humans protect their pack." Thalvor was silent for a long moment. Then he said something he never thought he would say. "I am glad Earth earned its name. I am glad you are what you are." The rescue ships arrived. As they were brought aboard, Doyen looked back at the damaged fleet. They had won today, barely. But the devourers would return, and next time they would be ready for human tactics. The galaxy would need more than just human courage. It would need human knowledge, human adaptability, human refusal to accept defeat. The galaxy would need to learn what Earth had spent millions of years teaching, how to survive in hell and come out stronger. 3 months had passed since the first devourer attack. The galaxy had changed in that short time, changed in ways no one had predicted. Doyen stood in what had once been a human military training facility on Earth. Now it was filled with aliens. Hundreds of them, from dozens of species, all wearing modified training gear, all pushing themselves beyond what their bodies were meant to endure. "Again," shouted Tejan, the human marine instructor. He was built like a tank scarred from a dozen conflicts. You fall, you get up. That is the lesson. Getting knocked down is not failure. Staying down is failure. A tall alien, one of the bird-like species, struggled to rise after falling during the obstacle course. Earth's gravity was crushing for species evolved on lighter worlds. But the alien got up. Tried again, fell again, got up again. Tajin nodded with approval. Good, that is how you earn your place. Not by being strong, by refusing to quit. Across Earth, similar scenes played out. The Council had sent their best soldiers, scientists, and leaders to learn from humans. Not human technology, not human weapons. Human mindset, how to adapt, how to endure, how to win when winning seemed impossible. Mireille directed the cultural exchange program from the capital. Her office was chaos, filled with aliens asking questions about human history. Why did humans fight each other for thousands of years? How did humans survive diseases that should have killed them? Why did humans explore dangerous places just to see what was there? Because we are insane, Mireille told them with a smile. By galactic standards, every human is slightly crazy. We do things that do not make logical sense. We take risks for minimal reward. We care about things we should not care about. And that insanity is our strength. An alien scholar, similar to Quilmara but younger, asked, "How do we learn this insanity?" "You do not," Mireille said gently. "You cannot. You are not shaped by a death world. But you can learn to work with us, to trust us, to let us be crazy on your behalf." In orbit above Earth, Jiwan commanded the largest fleet ever assembled. Human ships and alien vessels training together. They practiced the impossible maneuvers humans took for granted. Most alien crews could not handle it. But a few could. A few had that spark, that willingness to push past their limits. Hyejin was training one such pilot now, an insectoid named Kelvin, who had shown surprising resilience. "You are thinking too much," Hyejin said over the communication channel. "Stop thinking. Just react. Trust your instincts." "My instincts tell me this maneuver will kill me," Kelvin replied. "Good," Hyejin said. "Now ignore them and do it anyway." Kelvin pulled the turn. 7 Gs, his body screamed in protest. His vision went dark at the edges. But he held on, completed the maneuver, survived. "I did it," Kelvin said, his voice filled with wonder. "Yes? Now do it 50 more times," Hyejin replied, "until it becomes automatic. Until your body knows what to do before your mind catches up." Back on the council station, now repaired and reinforced, Soren reviewed reports. They were not good. The Devourers had returned, hitting 3 more colonies. The dimensional rifts were appearing with greater frequency. Each attack was more coordinated than the last. "They are learning," Soren said to the assembled council. "Learning our tactics, learning our weaknesses." "Then we learn faster," Doyen said. He had been appointed ambassador of Human Council Relations, a new position created just for him. "We adapt. That is what humans do best." "But we are not human," Thalvor said. He was different now, humbled by recent events. "We cannot simply become what you are." "No," Doyen agreed. "But you can become better versions of what you are. You can learn that fear is not weakness, that pain is not defeat, that sacrifice is not meaningless." Quilmara entered the chamber, moving slowly. She was very old now, and the battles had aged her further. But her eyes were bright with discovery. "I have found something. In the deepest archives, a primacy beacon. Still functional. Can it help us?" Soren asked. "Perhaps," Quilmara said. "But activating it is dangerous. The beacon was meant to call the primacy home in times of crisis. But the primacy are gone, dead for 50 million years. What will answer the call?" "Only one way to find out," Doyen said. "Activate it," Thalvor wanted to object, wanted to urge caution. But he had learned from humans that sometimes action was better than hesitation. "I agree. We have nothing to lose." The beacon was ancient, built with technology far beyond anything the current galaxy possessed. Quilmara and Siwu worked together to activate it. The young human scientist and the old alien scholar formed an unlikely team, but effective. When the beacon activated, it sang. A signal that pierced through normal space, through dimensional barriers, through time itself. The signal spread across the galaxy and beyond. For 3 days, nothing happened. Then everything happened at once. A primacy ship appeared. Not a physical ship, but an artificial intelligence housed in a vessel made of compressed thought and possibility. It had been waiting, dormant for 50 million years, waiting for someone worthy to call it home. The AI called itself Guide. It appeared in the council chamber as a holographic form, ancient and powerful. "I am the last remnant of the primacy. I have heard your call. You face the Devourers. Can you help us?" Mireille asked. I can provide you with weapons, Guide said. Technology designed to fight beings that exist between dimensions. But I must warn you, using these weapons requires understanding, requires wisdom. The primacy fell because they became too powerful. They forgot humility. We will not forget, Doyun promised. We have learned that lesson recently. Guide studied the assembled species. Its gaze lingered on the humans. You are the ones we hoped would emerge. From the death world, from Earth. You knew about us? Soren asked. We seeded your world specifically, Guide said. We knew it would be hostile. We knew it would kill most of what lived there, but we also knew it would create something special. A species that could survive anything. A species that could face the devourers and not break. Why us? Doyen asked. Why not create peaceful species? Why make us suffer? Because peace breeds softness, Guide said. And the universe is not soft. The devourers are the universe's way of testing life. Only the strong survive. Only the adaptable endure. We tried to create paradise species. They all fell when the devourers came. Then we tried something different. We created a hell world, and we waited to see what it would produce. We are your experiment, Mireille said, anger in her voice. No, Guide corrected. You are our hope, our legacy, everything the primacy was and more. You have what we lacked. You know suffering. You know pain. You know loss. And because you know these things, you also know compassion, determination, sacrifice. Guide provided the Council with weapons beyond imagination. Energy weapons that could tear through dimensional barriers. Shields that could exist in multiple realities at once. Ships that could travel through space and time simultaneously. But the technology came with instructions. These weapons can destroy the devourers, but they can also destroy you. Use them only when necessary. Use them with wisdom. Remember what you are fighting for. The final battle came sooner than expected. The devourers launched a massive assault, attacking 100 worlds simultaneously. They had learned from their defeats. They came in overwhelming numbers. Jiwan led the defense fleet, the largest armada ever assembled. Human ships and alien vessels working in perfect coordination. They had trained for this, prepared for this. But the scale was beyond anything they had imagined. All ships engage at will, Jiwan ordered. Remember your training. Adapt to their tactics, survive, the battle was chaos. Ships exploded. Planets burned. Space itself tore and healed and tore again. The devourers came in waves, endless and hungry. They consumed everything they touched. But they had not counted on one thing. They had not counted on humans teaching other species how to fight like Deathworlders. How to refuse defeat. How to protect each other. Siwoo, working from a research vessel, discovered the key. The rifts. The devourers are using dimensional rifts to cross into our space. If we can seal all the rifts simultaneously, we can trap them here. Cut them off from their home dimension. How do we seal them all at once? Hyejin asked. She was flying through hell itself, her fighter dancing between devourer attacks. Someone has to go through, Siwoo said quietly. Someone has to enter the rift and collapse it from the other side. It is a one-way trip. Silence filled the communication channel. Then Hyejin laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was the laugh of someone who knew what had to be done. I will do it, she said. I always wanted to see what was on the other side of reality. Hyejin, no, Jiwan said. That is a death sentence. So is letting the devourers win, Hyejin replied. Admiral, I am the best pilot in the fleet. If anyone can navigate a dimensional rift, it is me. You know I am right. Jiwan wanted to refuse, wanted to find another way. But she was a military commander. She understood sometimes there was no other way. You have permission. Make it count. Hyejin dove toward the largest rift. Behind her, 5 other fighters followed. All volunteers. All human. They knew what they were doing. They knew they would not return. For Earth, Hyejin said as she entered the rift. For the Council, the others replied. For everyone we love, they said together. The fighters disappeared into the rift. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the rift began to collapse.